Today, Harley Davidson announced the 2021 Sportster S with the brand new Revolution 1250 motor in it. The question is it actually all it's cracked up to be, and is it here to take out the Rebel 1100? Let's hop on the Rebel 1100 and talk about it.
Perfect.
Welcome back to Life of Birch. This is Birch, and today we're talking about the brand new 2021 Sportster S. So we're going to cover some of the specs of the new bike, some of the features, the price, and then I'll give my unsolicited opinion on whether or not I think the bike is going to be a success and whether or not I think Harley hit the nail on the head. Obviously, with me even just saying that, it doesn't sound promising, but I guess we'll see. Alright, so we'll start off with specs. If you've watched the channel before, you know that I'm not much of a specs guy, but I'll cover them as best as I can. So the thing that's so exciting about the new Sportster S is that it's a brand new motor from Harley. It's the new Revolution 1250 motor. So this motor is cool because it's actually a liquid cooled motor from Harley, whereas it's normally an air cooled motor. So normally if you get a Sportster, you don't have a radiator, you don't have coolant, the engine just cools down by the air blowing past it. So if you're sitting in traffic during the summer, you got your legs spread out so they're not burning to death. But that is now a problem of the past because Harley is in the future. Now this 1250 motor is obviously a little bit bigger than the previous 1200 motor that came in the Sportster 1200s, and it puts out some pretty impressive numbers, honestly. According to Harley, the Sportster 1250 motor puts out 94 foot-pounds of torque and a whopping 121 horsepower. All of that is coming out of a bike that only weighs 502 pounds ready to ride. Now, to me, that is seriously impressive for a cruiser, considering the fact that my Rebel 1100 weighs about, I think, 485 pounds and only has 86 horsepower and still is an absolute blast to ride. I couldn't imagine only adding 15 pounds to this bike, but essentially adding 50% more power to it. Now, the other cool thing that they pointed out is that the motor is actually a stressed part of the frame. I don't know if I worded that right, but typically Sportsters and Harleys have the frame that goes all the way around and then the engine sits inside of it. Whereas with something like the Rebel, you can probably see the motor is actually like part of the frame as a stressed member of it. So the new Sportster is the same way as that, and they say that it kind of helps with keeping things nice and rigid and helping with handling. And touching on handling, they claim that they went after kind of sport bike like agility with this bike, so it'll be interesting to see how it handles. It has adjustable suspension as well, but the thing for me is that it has those big bulbous tires. Now obviously tires aren't the only thing that it comes down to when you're talking about handling of a bike, but when I see those giant like balloon tires, I just don't think sport bike agility, you know what I mean? But I guess we'll see, and hopefully in the future I'll get to ride one and have them prove me wrong. And now when you start talking about tech, this bike is loaded with tech, especially for a Harley or a Sportster. So instead of the analog screen that you normally see on a Sportster, this one has the 4-inch TFT display. So it has all the fancy stuff there. I mean, it has a battery voltage readout, it has TPMS sensors so you can see what the tire pressure is, which that was pretty cool to me. And then of course, just like the Rebel and lots of other modern bikes, it has all of the fancy little riding modes. The Rebel has sport mode, standard mode, and rain mode, going from most aggressive to least aggressive, and then also has a custom user setting so you can program it exactly how you want. The new Sportster is the exact same way. It has different names for the modes, but it's the exact same kind of idea behind it, so that's super cool to see. It also has built-in Bluetooth. I'm still unsure of how that works, so I can't really talk about that too much. I'm unsure of if it has speakers or how the Bluetooth aspect works, but it does have built-in Bluetooth. And then the cool part is that it mentioned a Harley Davidson app where it actually has navigation on the screen, so that I think will be really cool. It also has standard ABS and standard traction control. Not only does it have those, but it's labeled as, I forget exactly what it is, I'll put it up on the screen, but it's something about cornering stability traction control and cornering stability ABS, something like that. So I don't know if that means that it can detect how far the bike is leaning as it engages those features or what, but that's pretty cool. It also has standard cruise control. Cruise control is something that I never thought that I would need, but having it on this bike has been a godsend for longer trips. And of course it has, you know, the USB charger and all those little goodies as well. So for me, it's super cool to see something like a Sportster having all that tech. You know, even when I just think Harley in general, I think kind of bare bones, like this bike is gonna beat you up. It's not a computer geek kind of thing. So seeing all that tech is super cool. Now, of course, we have to talk about the way that it looks, but this is gonna be all subjective. Everybody likes different things. Everybody has different preferences. is, for me, the looks of the bike were not a huge hit, but not a huge miss either. I think the bike looks super mean. I dig the short fender look. I think it's a little weird. It kind of is like a mix between a Fat Bob, a Sportster, and a V-Rod almost. So the aggressive styling is nice in that aspect. The short fender, like I said, looks cool, but I'm kind of curious how you would fit a passenger back there. And then it has the oval headlight in the front, LED lights all around. The oval headlight is reminiscent of the Fat Bob. Still not sure if I like that or not. I do like the Fat Bob headlight look when they have like a Memphis Shades fairing or something like that on the front, but when it's just naked, I'm not a huge fan of it, so I don't know. We'll see if it grows on me. And then of course you can't miss that exhaust on the right side of the bike. It almost has like a scrambler feel to it. I'm honestly kind of torn. I don't know if I have an opinion on that yet. Part of me hates it and thinks that it belongs on like a Triumph Scrambler. The other part of me thinks that it's aggressive and cool and kind of matches with the short rear fender and just the overall like aggressive bulldog stance of the bike. I don't know. And then I've already touched on the kind of balloon animal tires. It has a cool look. I don't know if it's for me. Obviously I had the Rebel 500 previously, which has some kind of beefy tires, but there's a difference between beefy and just downright bulbous, and I think the Sportster is kind of leaning a bit too far towards bulbous. I think the color choices are cool. You got your basic black, basic white, and then you have like a crimson red. I feel like crimson red is kind of hot right now. There's a similar color to that offered on the Rebel 1100, so I think the colors are cool. What I don't particularly care for is all of the bronze accents on the bike. I know lots of companies are kind of doing that, and maybe it's like new modern styling that I haven't caught on to yet, but I'm just not a huge fan of it. I think I prefer kind of like, kind of like how my Rebel is, just all blacked out. I feel like that is a lot cooler than the weird like brownish bronze accents. I think it definitely could work on the black, but on the red especially, I'm not feeling the bronze accents. Of course, that's subjective, like I said, but yeah, I mean, overall, the bike looks super mean, super badass. Like I said, it just looks like a bulldog or something, like it's just crouched down and ready to frickin' beat you up like every Harley is. But then at the same time, you read the stats and it's only 500 pounds and seems manageable. Apparently handles really well. They're going for that sport bike like agility, so I'll kind of see how it grows on me. For right now, the looks for me are not a huge hit, but also not a huge miss either. Now, kind of circling back to that, sport bike like agility that I was talking about, the weird thing for me is that the bike has forward controls, and when I think of like a really good handling bike, a really agile bike, I don't think of something that has forward controls. So I'm not really sure what target audience Harley's looking for, but it doesn't seem like the bike is being marketed towards people who are doing any kind of touring or any kind of long trips where I would think that you would want to kind of have forward controls and stretch out for more room. What it seems like they're doing is kind of trying to make what a cruiser would be if a cruiser was a sport bike. And when I think sport bike cruiser, I do not think forward controls. And now, of course, they do offer a mid-control kit, which I'll touch on in just a second when we talk about pricing. But for me, it seems like this bike should have come with mid-controls and then had an optional factory forward control kit, not the other way around. All right, so let's use that to segue into the pricing talk, because this is the thing that really has me caught up. And you'll see how the mid-controls kind of come into play with that in just a second. All right, so we already talked about all the specs and all the features, so we already know that this thing is fully loaded, has a ton of features, but the question is, where does pricing come into play with all those features that they packed in there? So the new Sportster starts out at, wait for it, $15,000. I'll say it again, $15,000. I think that is crazy. Now, don't get me wrong, like I said, it does have a lot of features and the specs are awesome, but at the end of the day, it's a Sportster. Now, not only is it starting out at $15,000, but that is only if you want the black color. If you want the red or the white, you're tacking on an extra $350. When you're looking at other Harleys even, not even other bikes in this category, just other Harleys, you can get a brand new Lowrider S for only $3,000 more than the starting price of the Sportster. And you can get a Fat Bob 114 brand new for only $3,800 more than the starting price of the Sportster. And that's the starting price, like I said. Now, circling back to the mid-control conversation, obviously Harleys are super customizable. You can do whatever you want with them, and they already have a list of accessories on the website for the new bike. So I was taking a look at it and I'm like, all right, if you get this bike and you want mid-controls, what's it going to set you back? Brace yourself, $670 for mid-controls. And then I kept looking at the rest of the accessories. Let's say you want to take a passenger on this bike. For one thing, I wouldn't really recommend it because that rear fender is super short, and even just looking at the picture of the passenger seat, I don't understand how between the size of the seat and the power of the bike anybody would fit or stay on there. But let's just say, hypothetically speaking, you do want to put a passenger on the back of the bike. I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but I'll put them up on the screen right now. Just the rear passenger seat, if I remember correctly, was about $200. The passenger pegs, just the foot pegs, were like $170 or $150. And then of course you're going to want a backrest so they don't slide off the back with all that power, and the backrest is $200. So let's say you get this new Sportster, you want to put mid controls on it, you want that fancy red color, and you want to be able to safely take your girlfriend on the back. You're now pushing 17 grand for a Sportster. You're now just $1,000 away from getting a Lowrider S, or about $1,500 away, or I'm sorry, $1,800 away from just getting a Fat Bob 114. So I don't know about you, but for me, the price point is what is the real killer. And when you talk about the question at the beginning of the video, is the new Sportster the Rebel 1100 killer? Is it going to put Honda out of the market? I think the price makes that answer a definitive no. When you consider that I got this bike for $9,300, not I got it for $9,300, that's what they run, $9,300. It's a $6,000 difference between this and the Sportster S. For that $6,000, you could literally just get a sport bike and have actual sport bike performance. I don't know where I am, but this seems like a cool place to end the video. This is freaking beautiful. Let me not get distracted though. So like I was saying, you could literally get a Rebel 1100 and have $6 grand left over to buy an actual sport bike for actual performance if that's what you're looking for. Or, I know I keep beating a dead horse, you could get a Lowrider S for essentially the same amount. Let's say you're financing the bikes, that $1,000 difference between the Sportster S and the Lowrider is nothing if you're talking about a 4 or 5 year loan. So for me, I don't know, the price was just the huge killer. I think if they priced it around, you know, 12 or 13,000, that would have been great. 15,000 starting price is just nuts to me. So anyway, there it is, my opinion, my unsolicited opinion on the new Sportster S with the Revolution 1250T motor in it. I may change my thoughts on it, who knows. If you're familiar with the channel, you'll know that when there were rumors of the Rebel 1100, I made a video saying that I thought it was the dumbest idea ever and that Honda shouldn't make it. And then obviously here I am with this, a Rebel 1100. So obviously thoughts can change once you actually get to ride the bike, and hopefully I get a chance to ride the new Sportster and kind of weigh in on my opinion after that. But as of now, not a huge hit for me, not a huge miss. I don't know. Like I said, price is the big thing that's doing it for me. So, but that's going to do it for this video. Make sure to leave a comment below and let me know what you think about the new Sportster. If it's your first time here, make sure to go ahead and subscribe. You may have just found the channel because this is the first video I've done about Harleys. Go ahead and check out all my other videos. Like I said, I got plenty of them with the Rebel 1100 and plenty of other bikes. Hopefully I'll get the chance in the future to ride one of the Sportster S's. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'm getting out of here. Love you. Peace.